What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Tampa Tones here of the Buccaneers. We got a great one tonight. We got JC Allen from Pewter Report joining us. We got J-Lo, lifelong Buc Fan and fan of the shows, joining us. And Stunna is supposed to be here as well. We got so much going on. You got Trev in the building already commenting. We got Mundo in the building already commenting. We're going to bring JC Allen here in a second. We're going to roll the intro, and we'll be right back in a flash. Only here on the Buccaneers. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and so much more. We'll be back in a flash with JC Allen, Bucs beat writer of Pewter Report, to go over training camp and so much more. See you soon. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buc fans were there too. The Buc.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
What is going on, everybody? We got the gang in the house now. It's Tampa Tones here alongside some great individuals joining the show. JC Allen of Pewter Report, Jeremy, lifelong Bucs fan and friend of the shows. JC, we'll bring you in right away, buddy. How the hell you doing, my man? Hope all is well. Hope you hibernated this off season, because just like that, it's already over, and we're getting into this thick of things quick, brother.
Absolutely doing great, man. Happy to be on with y'all. Definitely enjoyed the offseason a little bit, but still, covering the Bucs is a 24/7, 365-day a year a job. So plenty of content put out all over the offseason, but got to kick back, relax a little bit. Happy the season's here. Happy to have been out to camp. Hearing the pads smack again is always an amazing sound. So we got football tonight. And well, this game is, I compare this game to like the this is like the Saturday freshman game that nobody really goes to, but it's still here. So I mean, this is, and it's football's back, baby. That's all I can say is football is back.
Oh, I love it. It is like that Saturday game where it's like, all right, half the parents will go, they'll be asleep, but hey, it's still football on. You still got things to watch. So hey, this game comes quick every year. I feel like there's all the talk about the Hall of Fame induction, the Hall of Fame ceremonies, and out of nowhere it's like, oh crap, there's actually football on tonight, and it's usually a game, that's an extra one. It used to be a fifth game for people. Now it's a fourth game for people. So we got dogs excited as well that football's back. That's all that matters. J-Lo, how the hell you doing, brother? Long time no talk, my friend. I know we've been talking on the socials about wrestling, about Bucs football, but now we have you here back on the pod. How's everything, brother? You excited for another season of this journey?
Oh, I'm ecstatic, bro. I can't wait. I've been watching Pewter Report, Loose Cannons, all these other podcasts that hype me up. And then I gotta get a lot of props to Pewter Report, man. They just keep me updated at training camp. I can't make it, unfortunately. Thank you very much. JC crushing it on these podcasts. I see this man all over the place. I mean, hey, props, brother. Hey, it's football season, baby. It's football season.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go. My bad.
No, you're good, man. Hey, we're no-fly zone here. You can say whatever the heck you want. So, I mean, there's a border to everything. But you can say a lot of damn things on this show.
Okay.
But I remember JC doing the Audible with Joshua Allen Cole on Friday
Joshua
night.
Cole Allen.
Joshua Cole Allen. Well, you know, you changed your name like 5 times. So
I have changed it twice, and the only reason I went from Joshua Cole Allen to JC Allen. So my Facebook name was Joshua Cole Allen, and the host Peter Blake of the Sports Web. Shout out to him for giving me my start in this business. But he also a new member of Bucs Live Media right there. But he also Joshua Cole Allen. I was like, man, that's such a mouthful. So then when I had my show as the Audible with Joshua Cole Allen, because that's what Bucs Report at the time viewers knew me as. And then when I made the switch over to Pewter Report, I was like, it's time to freshen it up. Joshua Cole Allen's too much of a mouthful. I don't want to go by Joshua Allen because it's my government, but I don't go by that. So I was like, JC Allen, that's what we're gonna go with. It's smooth, it rolls out the tongue. It's a lot less letters and syllables to pronounce. So we're JC Allen now.
I'm glad you changed it. I like you regardless, brother, but JC Allen just rolls off naturally. You know, you sound like a natural when you say JC Allen.
It's funny, too. I always liked the name JC, like, because I grew up, like, in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And, like, they had NSYNC's JC, you know. Like, I would never go by. No one wanted to call me JC at all. No one was down with that. So, you know, now I am JC. So it's kind of like full circle here. I kind of wanted it back in the day. Now I got it, and it's going to stick, and it's not going anywhere. Although none of my friends and family, they all still refuse to call me JC.
That's kind of like Tones and I. No, not the song, but Tones and I. When I get called Tones, some of my family's like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Hey, that's you know what people call me." But you had some competition with Joshua Allen, that's for sure. You had a quarterback, you had a lineman.
All I know is if I ever go to Jacksonville or Buffalo, I'm set with reservations. I'll just have my wife call and say, yes, I want to make reservations for Josh Allen. And I'll be set when I get there. No one's going to bat an eyelash. Like, Josh Allen's coming in. We got to make sure everything's good. And then I get there and they're utterly disappointed, but I still have my reservations. So it's all good. But no one wants to go to Buffalo or Jacksonville anyways. So
you're the only Josh Allen I know, brother. That's it.
Hey, there was a Buccaneer. There was a Buccaneer Joshua Allen, but that was Joshua Allen III, an offensive lineman. He was only a practice squad preseason type guy, but nonetheless, all this Joshua Allen talk is making my head spin. We know there's only one, and that's the one on the show right now, JC.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So we got a question from Twitter, and it's from Pops. When it goes to that, I put it on YouTube. So we're going to start hard and heavy out of the gates here, fellas. We're going to start with JC here. My simple question, whenever you bring it up, well, we'll bring it up now. You have been and still are a Trask supporter, while some of us Bucs fans, including me, assumed it's Baker's job. What did you see that we did not? Real quick before JC jumps in, I'm just going to keep it real, and I've seen the Bucs draft a second-round draft pick who sat behind Tom Brady for a couple of seasons, and it's starting to get now or never in terms of his playing time on the Buccaneers. It's already year 3 for him. He doesn't have a 5th-year option. Pretty soon he'll be in year 4. And you got to know what he has before you write him off and it's considered a wasted pick. Meanwhile, Baker's written himself a couple chapters now in Cleveland, in Carolina, in Los Angeles. He's looked effective at times, specifically in Cleveland before his injury. Last year in L.A. on a short week in Thursday Night Football. But at the end of the day, this is Todd Bowles' last dance, perhaps. If he has a bad season, he might be gone as well. He has no time to mess around. It's really boom or bust, and he's going to go with the hot hand and whoever is the better quarterback. And, you know, I think it would be a real shame if the Buccaneers never seen what Trask has to offer, so they're going to give him a fair chance and every opportunity, in my opinion. JC, you might have more knowledge or better words of the situation, but that's just how I've seen it from the start.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is when they signed Baker, they signed to a very modest deal, you know, $4 million base with the ability to gain more incentives. But, you know, when you bring in Baker, it's kind of his job to lose. and not because the Buccaneers are feeling that way. Like, you know, we're bringing in Baker, he's the starter, and let's Trask improve, but because of his experience, right? That gives him the ultimate upside there. You know, he's played in started over 60 games in this league, came in as a first-round pick. He had success, you know, his rookie year, had success in 2020, that season, where he brought them almost to the AFC Championship game. Chad Henne didn't perform miracle work when Patrick Mahomes went down. So, you know, Baker, they liked Baker a lot too last year. I'll tell you this right now. I know for a fact that if Tom Brady had retired, Baker would probably be a Buccaneer last year instead of a Carolina Panther. That's kind of what would have happened there. So they do like him. They've liked him for a while. But at the same time, exactly what you said, you drafted Trask in the second round. You drafted him, and when you did draft him, you said all the right reasons. He checks up from the neck up. He's got the arm strength. He's showing the biggest knock on Trask was he was not a mobile guy. He would just stand he was a pocket passer. Night and day difference from what we've seen. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's actually been running more in practice than Baker has, doing these waggles and rollouts and stuff like that. So bootlegs as well. So I think, you know, with these two guys, Canales is doing what he did last year and what he thinks is the best thing for this team. You know, you got two guys, one of them that's had an up and down career, has shown flashes that he could be a top tier quarterback. The other one that had good, you know, production in college, and in my mind probably would have been the first overall quarterback off the board in last year's draft over a Kenny Pickett, you know, and certainly over the rest of the guys if he stayed for one more year. And you got to see what they have. So right now it's breeding competition. Baker was off to an early start before the pads came on. Since then, Trask has looked very decisive, very commanding, hasn't turned the ball over. Baker's had more splash plays. So it's kind of like, you know, we had Coach Canales on our podcast, you know, prior to the training camp starting, and he said, you know, pretty much what me and Scott and the rest of the guys at Pewter Report have thought the whole time. Whoever turns the ball over the less is going to be probably named the starting quarterback, but also who's scoring more touchdowns, who's driving the ball downfield, who's creating those opportunities and those big plays. That's going to weigh into it at the same time. So right now you've got a competition that is really starting to tighten up. That was Baker's to lose, and now it's potentially Trask's to win if he can prove and he can do the same things that he's doing when the lights come on, when the games start, when the joint practices start. You know, Baker had a good quote today, and he was talking about, you know, not having stringed together a couple of good practices the last couple of days. But at the same time, when you look at the situation here, these are two guys who are both learning a new system. Baker has some familiarity with it from being in LA, but they're still learning new wide receivers, you know, for the most part. Trask never got the opportunity to throw to these guys. He's got chemistry with DT and KG, Devin Tompkins and Kalen Geiger, but the rest of these guys, he wasn't throwing to them. He didn't get opportunities to throw to Evans and Godwin and Gage. Really, no one got an opportunity to throw to Gage last year, but, you know, he didn't have the opportunity to throw to these guys. So he's learning what they like and what they don't. And one of the biggest things that I've seen out of Trask that's really encouraging is that he's talking to Godwin on the sideline. He's talking to Rashad on the sideline. He's talking to Evans on the sideline after drives and after series when he's got the number one reps and saying, what did you like out of this? What can I do? How can I throw this ball better to put you in a better situation? And just, you know, seeing that is showing that he's taking the time to continue to get better. They're learning the system. Canales is doing a great job at slowly installing this offense instead of throwing the entire playbook at these guys. It's going to go back and forth. We're only on day 7. You know, there's still a month left of training camp.
That's crazy. It seems like we've been at it for a year.
Right. Nobody's calling this camp battle yet. And the funny thing is, the best looking quarterback's been John Wolford, and he's not even in the competition. But, you know, the thing about John Wolford is he knows the system like the back of his hand. Like he's grew up in it. It's very similar to what the Rams are running. There's definitely different terminology and things that they're going to be doing, but the base of this system, John Wolford knows it, and that's why he's been getting more reps too. We've seen him get reps with Evans, with Godwin, with the number one offensive line out there, with the number one wide receivers, and that's really to give these guys mental reps. Okay, you guys this is the install. You're doing it. Watch how it's supposed to be done. You know, and that's been a tremendous jump-off point for the Buccaneers and for Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield to have that guy in there too. So way too early to call the competition. But it is a competition and it's heating up. And Trask is answering that call that Baker started early. Now it's time for Baker to answer that call. And we'll see how it goes back and forth until we get to the Steelers game and really see what's going on then.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I tend to think eventually we'll probably see both of them start at some point this year unless one of them really tears it up. But before we get to J-Lo on his opinion, JC, let me ask you this. We are here with the great JC Allen of Pewter Report. He's the best in the business, we often call him, for the millions and millions out there reading in the Bucs content. But JC, let me ask you this quick before we get to J-Lo. I know it's early, but you know a guy like myself who likes to put some cheddar on occasion on things here and there. I made a couple MVP bets in January or February, way back in the day for this upcoming football season, before we had Baker Mayfield, before Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, really before a couple of things happened. These are my 5 MVP bets. I just want to know your opinion and if you think any of them are realistic. A lot of long shot odds, all long shot odds really, but I took Trask for MVP, Aaron Rodgers for MVP,
potentially
Justin Fields for MVP, Mac Jones for MVP,
as a Patriots
and Jonathan Taylor for MVP. Obviously, a lot of crazy
I think Aaron
stuff.
Rodgers is your best bet there.
I agree. Sorry, Tone. Sorry.
So you're burying the Trask one is what you're saying.
I'm burying all of them right now. Jonathan Taylor might not even have a team to play on come the start of the regular season.
He may even play this season for what I'm hearing.
That's why they tell you to wait a little bit. And I guess that's why you said it's too early to make any judgment on the quarterback competitions because, you can't stab at things too early in this day and age, especially.
Yeah, right. Aaron Rodgers, maybe. The rest of them, you just kind of threw it. Hopefully you didn't bet too much money on those.
I think they were 5 or 10 a pop. And
then you're good.
Okay.
I think the Trask one would pay like $1,000, you know what I'm saying? Something insane like that. Not that it would happen, but,
I like it.
Jeremy, we'll go with you now. What's your thoughts on JC's entire thing of the shakeout thus far of the quote-unquote QB competition of Trask and Mayfield, and how do you see it being a Bucs fan your whole life? How do you see things playing out?
Like I've been saying from the get-go, put Trask with the starters. JC put a good point. He never threw the ball to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin in a real-life game. When he went to Atlanta game, with a bunch of backups, and he didn't really get that protection. He didn't really get that real experience. And when you're behind a quarterback like Tom Brady, of course, no competition, but you know damn well he picked that brain of Tom Brady watching him play the game, watching him start, watching him go out there, which is good for Trask because that's what he does. He pits brains and waits for his opportunity, and when he gets out there under the lights, he shows up. Now, the real question is, yes, practice, he's done great, fantastic, but like JC said, next weekend when Pittsburgh comes to town, let's see what happens. Either he'll show up and do what he's been doing in training camp, or, we'll see what people are thinking, what they see in Trask. But the competition brings the best out of anybody, which we have not had in a long time. We had Tom Brady the last, 3 seasons, Jameis for the last 5, Josh McClown, which I don't care for. He drove me freaking bananas when he was at quarterback. I don't even want to get started with him. But anyway, just saying. But anyway, I'm liking the competition. I'm glad Trask is getting an opportunity to play with the starters, see what he's got. He was phenomenal at Florida. I'm a Gator fan. I'll take, people can judge me, whatever they want to do. But I see what Trask has got. He got drafted in the second round for a reason. You know what I mean? He was matter of fact, he was the second quarterback taken that draft, JC? It was Kenny Pickett, then him, right?
I know that was the draft prior. He was 4th or 5th off the board.
5th, because I think you had Fields, Lawrence, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and then Trask, I believe.
Yeah.
No, my bad. Anyway, long story short, I feel like Trask has a good opportunity to get in there and get Baker all he's got. And if Baker's the man, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with Baker Mayfield being that quarterback. I'm not saying he's terrible. Right now it's just practice. But at the end of the day, we got a really strong football team that's competing, battling, and I feel like, honestly, the defense is going to be what carries us through the season. I'm not saying the offense is going to be bad, but I feel with Canales in there, working with both Trask and Baker, or even Wolford, is a plus. I mean, I'm glad they're putting the third-string quarterback in Wolford with the starters because he has game time experience, and you never know what's going to happen in this league. I mean, look up to the 49ers. They were down to Christian McCaffrey at quarterback in the championship game. So at the end of the day, like I said, I like the competition. I like what I'm hearing out of both of them. I feel like Baker's got the hype, and I feel like he's probably going to start week 1. But until I see the first 2 preseason games, I can't really name a starter right now, truthfully, because
depth never hurts, like you're alluding to as well. Depth never hurts, and that's why bringing in a guy like Wolford isn't a bad idea, because Buccaneers the past handful of seasons, as we got a couple of OGs on Facebook, the Godfather James Rubright's in the house, Billy Minion's in the house. What's up, fellas? Thanks for joining us this evening. As JC Allen seems to be having technical difficulties right now. We hope to get him back. So it's J-Lo and Tampa Tones right now, taking you through this episode. We'll check in on JCL and see what's going on over there. But Jeremy, I do agree. It's been one of those things where, and happy birthday, Tom Brady, by the way, turns 46 years young today. And we know he's going to be getting some good stuff for his birthday, more likely than not. But Jeremy, you're right. We had Tom Brady, obviously no competition there. In the Jameis days, there was really no competition besides when he shot himself in the foot, got suspended, the Fitzmagic bull crap. And outside of that, really, there was no QB competition, true QB competition, in quite some time. And now we're facing one dead in the eyes of Trask against Mayfield. And it's heating up. It's surely heating up. It's getting national media attention now. It's getting posted by the New York Post. It's getting talked about by ESPN. So a lot of people are starting to talk about it as we do get JC Allen back here. So I'll ask you guys this next before we get into JC's deep dive and analysis into training camp. It's one of those things where we got to talk
Technical
about
difficulties. Give me 1 second, guys.
Yeah, no worries, JC. Take your time, buddy. Jeremy, let me ask you this: as being a lifelong Bucs fan, one of these things you got to talk about, as we alluded, Hall of Fame game tonight, Jets Browns, football quote unquote back. Our guy finally gets inducted this weekend. Rondé Barber, well deserved, overlasting his enshrinement in the Hall of Fame. To me, he's waited too long. It's been way too long. To me, it's been well deserved beforehand. Ira Kaufman was the man who got him in eventually. What say you on Rondé taking his place into Canton? I think it's incredible. Key Kaga, that Super Bowl team, lifelong Buccaneer, never played on another team. We had Anthony Gator on the program about a month or so back, and he always talks so dang highly of what Rondé did for him, both influential-wise and on the field-wise for his play. As when Gator was a rookie, Rondé was in his last season in the NFL. So always cool to get Gator's knowledge and tutelage of the situation regarding Rondé Barber. But before we get your thoughts on Rondé, and I'm sure there'll be high praise per usual, going to go over a couple of things quick, because you still get people who try and say Rondé this, Rondé that, in terms of Hall of Fameness and his numbers, blah, blah, blah. But at day's end, Rondé Barber had an incredible career, and he had 8 touchdowns as a defensive back, something that's pretty unheard of. 28 sacks, which is a crazy coming from the cornerback position. 47 interceptions, including 10 interceptions in 2001. Pretty incredible. And Jeremy, he was an Iron Man. He only played one game in 1997, but starting in 1998 through 2012, he never missed a football game. Never missed a football game. That's incredible. That's crazy. And he's really an iron horse out there. He was an iron horse out there on defense, and he's still one of the spokesperson and mouthpieces for the Buccaneers today. You've seen him in the Creamsicles video when he was out there when we released the Creamsicles. They picked a handful of legends. Rondé was one of them. Real quick, Jeremy, thoughts on Rondé getting announced into the Hall of Fame this weekend?
About fucking time, because this man is well deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. He should have been at first ballot. I mean, truthfully, the man had a hell of a career. I was there when he picked his Donovan McNabb at that 06 game at both end zones. I mean, I've seen so many great games of Rondé Barber. I never understood why it took so long for him to get into the Hall of Fame. And what sucks, and many Bucs fans will know, we were very terrible for a while. We didn't have
losing his franchise.
Yeah, we were literally the worst franchise, not only in NFL, but if you added up every single
North America
major sport combined, NHL, NFL, MLB, NBA, the Bucs sat at the bottom.
But you know what? As a true football hometown Bucs fan, anybody would tell you this. If you're a real fan, you'll watch your team play and you learn the players. Mm-hmm. And Rondé was very special, and he provided so much enjoyment watching him play football for all his achievements, what he's done. Between him, Brooks, those two to me, besides Mike Allstott, who was my favorite player, by the way, when not growing up, they are true Buccaneer players making the Hall of Fame that are well deserving, and that should be a big honor because we don't get that. We don't, and that's fine. But Rondé Barber, him making the Hall of Fame, you know what? Props, bro. Like I said, everybody in this city has been rooting for you to get in. You finally got in. Congratulations. I can't wait to watch the enshrinement on Saturday. I'll be at work, but I'll find a way to put that sumbitch on. I'm going to watch him get his gold jacket. Well deserving.
I'll be in Detroit, probably a little crooked on the street somewhere, but I'll be.
Party hard, brother. You're going to
I'll be attempting to watch. I'll be serving my salutes from the streets of Detroit. Last time I was in Detroit, we had Darrelle Revis on the Bucs, and the Bucs actually beat the Lions, and it was a fun battle between Revis and Kelvin Johnson that day. And yep, Revis got hurt, and then Jonathan Banks came in, and he did a pretty good number on Kelvin himself. Well, Kelvin was still Kelvin, but we did a pretty decent number regardless when a guy like him. And then I remember after we seen Ndamukong Suh walking through our hotel, man, in person, he's just a mammoth. But JC, enough of me babbling about my Detroit adventures, both post and previous. We have another question for you from Pops. How does the running back group look? Are we set? As Rondé Barber makes an appearance, Jeremy has the Rondé jersey. I had a Rondé jersey as well, Jeremy. It's a little snug on me now, sadly. I think I'd look like a toothpaste bottle if I tried to squeeze into that thing. But JC, running back room update. What are your thoughts on the running back room in general? And do you think we're set there? I personally like our depth. I like our running back room. I think it has some really good upside when you look at a guy like Rachaad White and you look at the Tucker kid out of Syracuse. I think both of those guys are fun. And then you have some veteran depth as well with Edmonds, Sneak, Vaughn, and Laird in there. It's not the most notable names group of 5 in the world, but to me, it's a pretty intriguing one. And as we look at the list of all the previous Super Bowl running backs, yada, 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 it really doesn't matter who your running back is in the NFL nowadays necessarily. in terms of notoriety or nameability, at least, as Jay Garrison joins the show as well. JC, what are your thoughts as you're the man, the myth, the legend, the great JC on the running back room?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rachaad White's prime for a big year. Dave Canales absolutely loves him, loves his ability, his natural ability, as he says. Talking about him the other day, he said there's not a run fit that he can't handle, whether it's wide zone, whether it's whatever they're going to run, he's going to be able to do it, and he's going to do it naturally. He's a natural pass catcher out of the backfield. He was coming out of college. His pass protection has really taken a step up too. He's a 3-down back. He's not. They've got some guys behind him that they're rotate in, keep him fresh, but he can stay on the field all 3 downs. I think with Rachaad White, he's primed for a big season. Not only just running the ball with this new scheme and the way that it's going to, we've seen it over the years in Seattle, the way it opens up for running backs. Them consistently averaging over 4 yards a carry each year, even with that offensive line that's got such notoriety for not being great. And I think Dave's even said it, this is the best offensive line he's ever been around. And that's including a rookie who's never started a game in the league and a guy who's, struggled immensely last year, who's going back to his natural position at right tackle and Luke Gedeke. So I am not worried about the running back position. Rachaad has looked phenomenal in camp. He's got the burst. He's got the power. He's got that quick cut ability to do those cutback runs. Sneak has really impressed. Keyshawn Vaughn has really impressed. His hands have come a long way since his rookie season when he started dropping balls from Tom Brady. He's a smooth runner. We all remember what he did in that Carolina game, taking him to the house for like 50-something yards. But he's looked smart, decisive with the football. Definitely think he's going to probably end up as that running back 2 to at least start the season and get a fair share of carries. Chase Edmonds brings a lot of speed to the table. He's got hands. We know that from what he did in Arizona. Was kind of bounced around last year, got banged up a little bit. Didn't really get the showcase. He wanted to be with the Bucs last year, but it just didn't work out. They brought back, Leonard Fournette and Giovanni Bernard instead. But, he sought, as Jason Light said, he sought us out. He called us, had his agent call us and say, hey, is there a spot for me? And they're excited to have him on there. And then everyone's excited about Sean Tucker too, what he can bring. Probably the fastest running back in that room, but he's built like Doug Martin, just short, compact, stocky, and he can do some really dangerous things. You saw what he did at Syracuse over the last 3 years there. And then a sleeper that I like for the practice squad, Ronnie Brown. This kid's really exciting. He can do everything. Return kicks. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can dance. Ronnie Brown. It's funny they call him Hendrix. I heard a couple of the guys call him Hendrix. But yeah, I think he's another guy. And even Patrick Liard. Patrick Liard's your jack of all trades. Good at everything, not special at anything. So if they want to keep him on the practice squad, I could see that as well if they don't want to take the time to try to develop Ronnie Brown. But the running back room to me is solid. I don't think they need to add anybody. I know people are like, oh, Kareem Hunt, Zeke Elliott, yada, yada, because I don't think they need it. I just, when I'm looking at areas of concern, running back's not where I'm looking. And with the emergence of David Wells really stepping up and probably that tight end too, tight end for me isn't as big a concern. My still big concern is safety depth, although I really like what Christian Izien and Kayvon Merriweather. Merriweather had 2 big plays today. And nickel depth, someone's got to emerge as victorious out of there. Teams going with 3 wide so often, you have to make sure that you have somebody that can cover that slot guy. Right now, it's D. Delaney in there. It's Christian Izien in there. It's Josh Hayes in there. One of those guys got to step up. But, and tackle depth. I'm not concerned about running back or the depth in that room. So pretty much answer that question.
Now, let me ask you this, because you bring up something interesting, JC. We've been known to have, honestly, the Bucs have had a pretty dang good tight end room for the past decade for the most part between Cam Brate, Gronk, and now we're shuffling in these younger guys, but a lot of question marks this year having so many younger guys. You mentioned David Wells. I know you like him a lot. I know a couple other beat writers and reporters who cover the team like him a lot as well. how does a guy like David Wells shake up the tight end room? Because I know the Bucs have 3 young guys. Is breaking news here. It's not Bucs news, but since we're talking Tampa, Rays pitcher Shane McClanahan has landed on the 15-day injured list. That's a big blow to the Rays rotation. So thought I would sneak that in there as well. But JC, is Jeremy Grown. Sorry, buddy. I'll be at the game Sunday rooting on for the Rays as well. But Jeremy, how does that or JC, I'm sorry, how does that shake out the tight end room? How does that shake things up a bit? Because I doubt that you're going to really have 4 tight ends on the active roster come game day. Or does O'Keefe kind of play a fullback type role?
Yeah, I think when you look at the tight end room, K-Dotton is clearly the number 1 guy right now. They really like what he's been able to do. Todd Bowles spoke about that today. The maturation process of him. I say it every time I talk about rookies. With K-Dotton, I was really high on him. I actually, if you guys remember, I picked him in the mock draft last year. I had him as a Bucs target very early on. We're talking like before the combine, even or right after the combine took place. I had him in my Bucs battle plan. I thought he'd need a year to kind of bulk up a little bit, and he's done that this year. But last year he was productive on the field. But with K-Dot, he's got that. He's that natural wide tight end. You can do a little bit of everything. He's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be spectacular at anything, but he's going to be just a good overall, solid, all around player for this team. When you look at David Wells. He's bounced around the league. He's 28. He's a 3rd-year player at 28 years old. He's bounced around, hasn't really been able to stick around somewhere, but just talking to, people in the organization, they're really high on him. And you've seen it so far throughout, the first couple of weeks. Every day we're mentioning David Wells. Every day David Wells is making plays. He's catching everything. Blocking is going to be big for him. But if you look at what those tight ends did in Seattle last year, they combined for over 100 catches. So there's plenty of opportunity for these tight ends to get involved in the passing game, while also being, forces in the running game too, opening up those holes and blocking to allow the running backs to get some extra yardage there. So, then you got O'Keefe. He's that hybrid fullback, H-back type role, but they put him in a lot of passing situations so far in camp as well. The thing about, I think, when O'Keefe comes on the field is it's not going to be as predictable. Every time O'Keefe came on the field, you knew they were running the ball. And pretty much you knew what they were doing on 1st, 2nd down anyways, and 3rd down. So when you had O'Keefe, it just gave that extra emphasis. So I think they'll utilize him in different ways to get him out there in clear passing situations, just to make sure that teams aren't like, okay, Co's on the field, they're running the ball. And then with Payne Durham, he's got some work to do as far as a blocker going. He's a red zone threat. We know that. He's a big target in the end zone. You can look at his production in college. I think I think the Bucs carry 4 tight ends, and those will be your 4. And then Tanner Towle, I think, makes the practice squad. This guy has been showing up. He's really got a grip on this offense and has been making plays. I know they like him a lot. He's athletic. He knows, there's something about tight ends. The Bucs don't have these speedy guys, right? They don't have that move tight end, Kyle Pitts, the O.J. Howard type. But they have guys who know how to find that separation at the top of the route. And Tanner Towle is another one of these guys. So they're excited about him as well. Dominic Daphne has been making some plays too. He caught the touchdown in the end of 2-minute drill during the practice on Tuesday, indoor stadium practice. So he's been making some plays, but I think, if they're going to keep a tight end on the practice squad, you're probably looking at Tanner Towle. I don't think they have any concerns about this tight end room. And even if they did look around the landscape free agency, there's really nothing available that can really trump these guys, unless you wanted to bring an O.J. Howard back. But I think they've closed the chapter on that one. I have no concerns right now. I know it's a young group. I know it's an unproven group for the most part. But the way that, who was saying that about Will Disley and what was the other guys? Noah Fant obviously has a little bit more of a, oomph to his name. But the other guy they had there, I can't remember his name too. people weren't around the league buzzing about those Washington, Seattle tight ends either. So I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Stunna is making his way onto the show now as well. Mandy Chavez says, can't wait to see number 13 in H-Town. Super excited. Talking about Mike Evans. I know a lot of people in the
He's been blowing up.
Yeah.
Blowing up in training camp, right, JC?
And Houston's going to be very excited to have him there as he's Galveston, Texas's own.
Yeah, Mike Evans he's been on a different level. Quite frankly, I've covered this team this is my fourth training camp, fourth year covering this team, and I haven't seen Mike like this ever. And look at the first 2 years, what he did with Tom Brady, 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, breaking his record. I haven't seen Mike this hyped up to play football and this unguardable in practice ever. Caveat, I didn't watch him in his early years before 2020, but he looks poised to just go out there and have a phenomenal season. He talked about the system that he's in with Dave Canales' system, how they're moving him into the slot more, putting him in motion. We've even seen some jet sweeps and stuff like that.
Wow.
They're going to utilize him in different ways. That's going to, as he mentioned himself to Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, take away those double teams. He's been one of the most double teamed wide receivers in the entire league since coming into it, since he really broke out on the scene. And they're going to try to alleviate those double teams and get him off and to get him in space, be able to utilize him in more ways than just deep ball, curl routes, comeback routes, and corner end zone fades, which he's a cheat code at. But they're going to utilize him in a bunch of different ways. And I think you're going to see a different level of production from Mike Evans than you have prior years. I tell you what, I will not have a bold prediction saying he'll get under 1,000 yards this season because I think he's poised to get that and more.
Yeah, and there's a couple good betting lines out there about his over-under yard total. I think you could get it pretty favorably. I think it sits right around the 903, 904 yard mark. I'd be pounding the over, especially with 17 games now on the schedule. Stunna, we'll bring you in, buddy. Are you there? Could you hear us? And how the hell are you doing? Have you heard any of our talk the last couple of minutes? And you got anything to say about Mike Evans looking next level? I mean, we've known Mike his whole career, and he's always looked next level. But as JC's alluded to, a lot of people are alluded to, other great gentlemen from the Pewter Report, other great ladies and gentlemen just covering the Bucs in general, Mike Evans looks like he's, a scary guy, a man on a mission for 2023.
Yeah, man, out here just trying not to get rained on. I came in with the tight end talk. I like Coach Keith. I thought he was going to be a good fullback last year. I was kind of underwhelmed with his blocking. Mike Evans, man, he's Hall of Fame. He's one of the best Bucs of all time. If you're a Bucs fan, you got to love Mike Evans. I'm looking for more from Russell Gage or maybe even our wide receiver 4. And looking forward to the season, hoping that we have a great defense and a great offense this year.
And we're going to talk about Gage in a minute, as we do have a question on him for JC, but I want to get Jeremy's Evans thoughts. But Stunna, real quick, 7-on-7s, a lot of him this week. You're a high school coach. How's that going in the beautiful state of Florida? I know it's a little hot down there. It gets a little sticky this time of year, as JC's got his beautiful Celsius. I've had one for lunch. I had the pomegranate mango, I want to say.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's
well, we're in training camp right now. 707 is more of an all-season deal. But, any kind of training we can do, I'm with it. We trying to keep these young kids, and they got to find a love for football. Seems like our generation, we love the game. Seems like these kids, you got to find a way to motivate them. So we have to fine cone it more, find kids that love the game and love to play the sport. They just love to watch the sport.
Happened in baseball too. My pops and I coached baseball for 10 years, and you could kind of keep telling year after year the love of the game went down, and
everyone wants to be TikTok, YouTube stars. That's all they want to do. No one wants to do hard work.
They want to be you.
You'll be shocked. I do work at the high school, and how many of these kids think they're going to be YouTube influencers? I hate to tell them that YouTube demonetizes people left and right, and there's really no career in that. You could be a communications major, or you could go multimedia, but to think that you're going to just
get some kind of app to do all the work for you, and you're going to be able to sustain a level of income doing that is kind of silly.
Stunna,
But yeah, man, as far
as do 2-a-days in pads like we used to do back in the day,
right?
you really can't do 2-a-days anymore because the teachers have to come in and work during the day. Back in the day, it would be like, coaches, y'all got 2-a-days, go handle your business. But now it's like, coaches, you better be in these meetings or you're not going to have any business.
right?
So it's kind of a mindset has changed. It's an administrative mindset has changed. The game of football really hasn't changed. I was telling them today that football hasn't changed in 100 years, man. It's blocking and tackling. But it's a different generation, different motivations. But yeah, man, as far as 7-on-7 or running a camp, a combine, a clinic, if Pewter Report or Buccaneers want to come in and run one, we could definitely make it happen. I'm trying to run as many camps as I can. I'm trying to bring stuff out here to St. Petersburg. There really is a hole out here for a lot of the kind of stuff that we've had in Tampa over the years, as far as high school football is concerned. So I'm definitely trying to run, as many camps, combines, clinics, and 7-on-7 tournaments as possible, because that's what's going to keep these kids involved and going to keep the off season. You talk about the dog days of summer. It's pretty much dog days from January to August. And so you got to keep kids involved. You got to keep them training so that they can perfect their craft and they can improve their skill level. So yeah, man, we could definitely get together on any of that. But, right now we're in training camp and it's about to be go time, just like the Buccaneers. Yep. And it's really all levels. College, they're in training camp.
Yep.
Buccaneers got preseason. High school gets one preseason. College don't get a preseason. So it's a little different culture on each level of football. But high school, you only get one preseason game, and you're expected to roll it. And so college, a lot of times, they try to line up a cream puff for somebody, and that's really their preseason.
Yeah,
so
it's you're right on that, though, Stunna. Week 1 in college, you see a lot of these bigger programs play the smaller programs. I think I seen J.C. Allen on a TikTok video the other day reenacting a Nacho Libre skit, actually. Trying to be in disguise Game of Thrones. But we got a good next question here. We're going to start with Jeremy here and then get to JC. I want to get the fans' opinion, then the experts' opinion. It's from Pops again, this time about Russell Gage, who I believe made an appearance today for the first time, at least in terms of doing some physical things and whatnot. Jeremy, let me ask you this. Pop says, what should we expect from Russell Gage this year? I remember some good moments down the stretch with Gage last year. I remember his game against the Packers where he stepped up when others weren't down. I know he fumbled that game, but I do believe he grabbed in double-digit passes around 100 yards and a touchdown. I'm expecting big things from Russell Gage this year. He was personally recruited by Tom Brady himself last year. What say you, Jeremy? Do you think we get a good Russell Gage, or do you think we get an oft-injured, mediocre flash-of-the-pan Russell Gage?
I say if he stays healthy, I think he'll be a big contributor. Because he did show flashes of getting first downs, getting touchdowns, making important catches. If he stays healthy, I think we're going to get the Russell Gage that we expected last year from him. To make plays, get first downs, get open. Because I watched a lot of his highlights when he played for Atlanta before he came here, and he was getting open. He was quick. Not to get over hype, but some people call him little AB, and I'm like, stay healthy. At the end of the day, talk about staying healthy. If he can stay healthy, I feel like he could be the real number 3 receiver that we were supposed to have last year for Brady, but unfortunately he got hurt. And I'm praying that he stays healthy. I feel like he can be a big contributor. I know Trey Palmer and Jared have been stepping up in training camp, but Gage, if he stays healthy and we get the Gage from when he was in Atlanta onto the Bucs, I feel like he could be a big contributor. I mean, the man is hungry, and the fact that he took a pay cut to stay here for another year, trying to prove himself, that to me is huge. You know what? He wants to be here. He wants to prove himself. Go out there, ball out, bro. Gage, I feel like if he stays healthy, which I feel like he can, because in the Canella system, because Byron was a different story, but Canellis was hyping up Russell Gage. I think in one of your podcasts, JC, over in Pewter Report, did he say a few things about Russell Gage, how much he liked him, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so Russell Gage, he's going to be primarily working out of the slot. Now they'll move Evans in there, they'll move Godwin in there, but if you look what he did, in Atlanta, primarily working out of the slot, in 2020 and 2021, almost 800 yards receiving, 72 and 66 yards receptions. I mean, Russell Gage, he struggled last year because he was dealing with that hamstring, but he still put up 50 receptions, 426 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He wasn't completely useless, as a lot of fans like to remember. And he finished on the team fourth in receptions, actually, fourth in receptions, and fourth in receiving yards as well, and second in touchdowns. So he did perform last year. He was just banged up, so he wasn't at his best. I think with Russell Gage, if he can stay healthy, that's been the big thing. He was banged up at the start of camp. They held him out. His first action was on Sunday when they were rocking shells. He's been in all the practices so far with pads. And if you go back to last training camp, there was no one more hyped up before his injury than Russell Gage. He was Tom Brady's go-to. He was catching everything. He was getting open, and his route running ability was smooth and quick and putting him in positions. I remember talking to the defensive guys. They're like, he's catching everything. He's doing moves that, like, we can't even, he's uncoverable pretty much. Today he had another one of those really good days. So, with this system that they're going to put him in, getting back more naturally into that slot position where he's had a lot of success, the past 2 years prior, before he came here last year and was injured, I think you're looking at a guy who can put back up, 60, 70 receptions. And even if he does put, like, let's just call it in the middle and say 65 receptions, really that's only 9 more or 14 more receptions than he had last year. It's not like he was completely useless last year. He was just banged up and hurt for most of last year. He still played in a bunch of games. You're right, that Green Bay game, he did go off on that one. Yeah, another good game he had was that Cincy game, where he had 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns there. So I think Gage can be a contributing factor on this team. A lot of people want to write him off, and they hear that he's injured coming into training camp, like, oh, he's injured again. But I think when you look at this team, the system they're going to run, the way they're going to operate, he's going to have plenty of opportunities. And if he can continue to stack practices, and as you said, J-Lo, just stay healthy, I think he could be in tune for a big season. And by a big season, I'm not saying 100 catches, 1,000 yards. I don't think they're going to have 3,000-yard receivers. But I think, if he gets right back around that 60, 65 catches for around, 600 to 700 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, that's great production from your wide receiver 3. And even with the injuries, I think he still gave you great production as a wide receiver 3 last year. So it's staying healthy for him, and he'll have plenty of opportunities in this system, especially working out of the slot.
Yeah, and he also, he stuck around. Some people didn't think he would, but he ultimately did, and I'm glad he did, because when you go through our depth chart, 4 and 5 receivers, I think there are going to be some younger, feisty guys down there, whether it is Kalen Geiger, Devin Tompkins, Raheem Jarrett, Trey Palmers of the world. You're really going to strive on the top 3 veterans, at least to kick off the season, to be reliable guys to throw to. I mean, it seems to me, JC, rookie wide receivers are a position that takes a couple weeks to kind of latch on at least a little bit at the main level. And we see a lot of rookie wide receivers start slow. I mean, some don't blossom until year 2 or 3, and not just wide receivers, but really rookies in general. So the Bucs having a lot of inexperience to round out the wide receiver depth that they have, I think it's going to be very crucial, critical, and key for the Bucs this season if they want to try and even compete for a wild card or the NFC South title, that they're going to really need a guy like Russell Gage to not only play games but play meaningful games out there, because after Evans, Godwin, and Gage, you don't have a lot of experienced backs with pass catching ability, and you don't have a lot of experienced tight ends, and the wide receiver roster is pretty thin, JC. So to me, I think he's going to need a big year and need a healthy year in order for this Bucs offense to get maximum contributions from the quarterback room.
Yeah, I think, you know, you obviously you want all your guys to stay healthy, and I think for Gage it is, and for this Bucs team, it's going to be really important for him to stay healthy, because they don't want to have to put Godwin back in the slot permanently. I will say I've really liked what I've seen out of Trey Palmer and Raheem Jarrett, 2 rookies. I think if you had to call it now, and if they continue their projection throughout camp and into the preseason games, I think your wide receiver room is pretty much set with obviously the big 3 in Gage, Godwin, and Evans, and then you're looking at probably Devin Tompkins. I just forgot his last name. Raheem Jarrett and Trey Palmer as your other 3. Now, you know, they'll have some of these guys in the practice squad because they've all looked pretty good. I think David Moore is that veteran you can keep on the practice squad, elevate him if you need him, if injuries happen. He knows the system, and he's performed really well. I really like what I've seen out of Tate Barber. Ryan Miller just finds the end zone out of converted tight end out of Furman. And then Cade Warner, he just finds ways to get open. Like, the guy just finds ways. And KG's looked good too. He's kind of the forgotten man in this, but he's looked pretty good too. I just think, you know, with his size, how many small receivers do you want to keep, you know, with him and DT? And not that the other guys are big. They're, you know, 6 feet and around that height. But, you know, I think the wide receiver room, while it's inexperienced after those 3, I think these guys have put on a show so far in camp, and I'm personally comfortable rolling into the season with them. They've been able to make plays on the number 1s. They've been able to make plays on the number 2s. Again, pads just started. Games haven't gone flying. It's so hard to do this because we haven't seen them in a game type atmosphere. You know, you're going against a defense. You're learning their tendencies. You're learning what they kind of like to do, how they like to lean this way or that way. So it's easier for you to make plays on guys like that, but the talent is there. It's undeniable. Raheem Jarrett probably should have been drafted. Trey Palmer probably should have been drafted earlier. It was just 1 year production from him. And the Bucs are really happy with the guys they have in the wide receiver room. You listen to Dave Canales at his press conference and Mike Evans in his press conference talking about these guys. You know, so coaches and teammates are, you know, they're not going to trash these guys, but at the same time, they're liking what they're seeing, and I'm echoing those thoughts.
Yeah. Now, real quick before we get the guys' opinion on this as well, and then I want kind of just your training camp primer to this point after we get a couple thoughts here before we start tailing it up, because it is already near the hour. Time flies when you're having fun with some good guys.
Absolutely.
JC, J-Lo, Stunna in the house. So I want to get your take on Kalijah Kancey in the rookie room in general. Obviously, Kancey went down. It seems to be a best case scenario in terms of calf strains, at least for now. Seems like he should be ready to roll week 1, or at least just about ready to roll week 1. He might have, you know, a little bit of catching up to do in terms of playbook and learning, but in terms of being ready physically, it seems like he'll be ready by week 1. So JC, I want to start with you, then get the guys' opinions on this double-sided question here. A, does the Kalijah Kancey thing concern you? To me, right now, it doesn't, because it happened early enough where we could get him back, and obviously never good to see your first-round pick go down, but better to get it done with nowadays, better to get it done with early than later. And then question number 2, outside of Kalijah Kancey, who do you see as the Bucs' biggest impact rookie so far for this season? I know it's too early, and I know it's a little early, but outside of Kancey, what rookie do you like the most to step up this year?
Yeah, so Kancey, just watching him without the pads come on, the guy's an athletic freak. His get off is insane. His ability to split double teams, playing next to Vita Vea is only going to help him because he's, you know, huge, but he's also athletic. I like what I've seen out of Kancey. Expectations are tempered, not just because of the injury, just because of the history of defensive tackles in the league, especially Bucs defensive tackles in the league. Vea, Sapp, and, you know, Gerald McCoy, all 3 sacks their rookie season. Can he do better than that? We'll see. As far as him missing time as well, certainly is going to hurt his progression, right? You know, he's potentially, if he's not back, you know, by the end of training camp, if he can, you know, heal up before then, his first week of practice is going to be getting ready for Minnesota. And that's a situation where it's not ideal, right? So I think when you look at it from that scenario, there's some cause to be alarmed. Because Bull said if he's ready to go week 1, they're gonna start him week 1. The thing about Kalijah, though, that sets him apart from other players that I've talked to and seen in the past is this guy is very mature for his age. He's got a good grasp on this defense already. Talking to Logan Hall, I wrote an article the other day, and he pretty much said about Kalijah, I was like, so being, you were a rookie last year, he's a rookie this year. Has there been anything that you've been kind of, had to teach him up, coach him up on? Anything and he pretty much told me, he's ahead of where I was last year. There's really not much that I've had to teach him or coach him up on other than rookie duties, filling the fridge and getting the snacks. So he's, and then, you hear those thoughts echoed from Casey Rogers, the defensive line co-defensive coordinator and Todd Bowles. So they really like where he's at. The biggest thing for him is going to taking those installs that they're doing in meetings. And then because he's not practicing, he's still out there at practice, he's scooting around with a boot on his foot, but taking those mental reps, right? And learning from these guys on the field and watching and applying what he's learning in class in his head on the field, because he can't be out there. So I have tempered expectations for his impact as far as numbers and stats. I think he can affect the game by the way the Bucs want him to, by getting interior pressure and forcing the quarterback outside of the pocket, either way, left or right, and making that easier for the ends, either Shaq and JTS and whoever they got rotating in there, to get pressure on the quarterback and potentially come up with more sacks. I think that's the biggest impact he can have. I wouldn't worry about sack numbers for him this year. If, he doesn't get X amount of sacks, he's a bust or whatever. Traditionally, defensive tackles, especially with the Bucs, have taken a little bit longer to get going. As far as guys who have caught my eye, who I think can make the biggest impact, it's a twofold part. I think, obviously, Cody Mock, because he's with the starting line right now at right guard, they're giving him the opportunity to win and start the season. He could have the biggest impact as a starter. He's looked pretty good. He's had his rookie bumps and bruises. He's gotten beat. Pat O'Connor put him on his ass a few times, but that's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And this is, a lot of people overreact to training camp, whether it's good or it's bad. And this is where they're learning. Like I mentioned with Baker's interceptions and him talking about, these are the times where I take those chances, because this is where I can take those chances and learn how guys, their body language, how they want things at the top of the route. So, him getting beat a few times, Luke Gedeke getting beat a few times, doesn't worry me that much. But I think in terms of who's going to have the biggest impact on this team is the guy who's going to start, and that's Cody Mock. Now, in terms of guys who have really impressed me, Servassier Dennis has just been an absolute pleasure to watch. He's come down with 4 interceptions, including a pick 6 throughout the offseason and training camp. He's just always in the right spot at the right time. He's very instinctual. He's way better in coverage than advertised. I mean, I spoke to his position coach at Pitt, and he's like, we blitzed him a lot because he was one of our best blitzers. Mm-hmm. You're going to be shocked what he can do in coverage. And I mean, his words haven't rung more truer. So, he's got the instincts, the smarts, and the coverage ability, as Levante has, and the ability to get after the quarterback like Devin White has. So if one of those guys are to leave or to retire in the offseason, if Servassier continues to, and just a really smart, intelligent guy, very eloquent when he speaks as well, I think they're in a good position. They're going to have to find ways to get him on the field this year if he keeps making turnovers and plays. And it'll be fun to see how they do that with Todd Bowles, so creative and unique in his offense. Maybe you see some 4-3 alignments where you got Devin White on the inside, him or Levante on the inside, him and Devin on the outside with Shaq and JTS down lineman next to Vea and Cansey. It's going to be interesting to see how they deploy him because kind of Larry Foote, I've already alluded, we'll have some packages for him for sure. But yeah, he's been such a pleasant surprise throughout camp so far. And Yaya is so fast, man. And he gets so low to the ground. Like, for a guy his size, he looks like a damn action figure to be able to that quick and have that uniqueness of bend. A lot of these guys are good. And the thing about them, we've talked about it in the past, that this draft class, they focused on character, obviously athletic ability and talent, but work ethic. And these guys have been working their ass off, and you can really see it translate on the field. I know I feel like I'm probably sounding like super positive on everything. Maybe it's Dave Canales rubbing off on me, with his positivity around the team and the energy, but you can definitely feel it this season. The Bucs are going to have their struggles, but I think in the most part, they're going to be in a good situation as long as this quarterback figures it out. Got plenty of talent left on this team, and I think they'll get some key contributions from some of these rookies along the way.
Yeah, I think you said it greatly. I think Dennis has impressed greatly as well. As we're here with JC Allen of Pewter Report, we're winding down, but we were still going to get his training camp update and then our last words, walk-offs, and whatnot. Before we do that, though, going to get to Stunna and J-Lo. Stunna, you're a big Dennis guy, rookie linebacker for Tampa. Is he still your pick to be the most impactful rookie for this season on your behalf, sir? Or has someone else caught your eye?
I've been a Yaya fan since he was at Louisville. I kind of hope he can beat one of the ends out.
Tryon Shoenka, probably.
Yes, I would think so. Well, Shaq Barrett, if his ankle is fixed, then he'll be obviously the starter.
Exactly.
But I look for him to beat out Tryon Shoenka. It's kind of hard for rookies to come in the league. They have to learn another level of football. But I think Yaya would be my pick for an impact player. But I like the Purdue tight end as well. So it'd be one of those two. But the tight end doesn't exactly play offense. So.
Yeah, we called a couple of those shots in our mock draft. Well, J-Lo, what say you outside of the Kalijah Cansey spectrum? So far, we have a Dennis vote by JC. We have a Yaya vote by Stunna. Who
Mine
you
was
going
Mock.
with? Oh, Mock. Yeah, that's right. JC, Mock, you said. And Stunna said Yaya. Who you going with, J-Lo?
I must say, I'm really excited for Yaya Diaby and Jose Ramirez as depth players for Shaq Barrett and Joe Tryon-Shoenka. And mind you, we got Anthony Nelson, who came in the clutch in a couple of games toward the end of the last season. So I'm really excited for the depth we got for the pass rushers. I'm a little concerned for the DBs behind us. But Yaya Diaby, to me, I don't know if you've seen the movie Friday, but he might be a Debo. He's going to go in there and take your lunch money from you. That's how big this guy is from what I've seen on videos and stuff. I mean, JC's seen him closer than me. I mean, you tell me Diaby.
So you kind of broke up there. I didn't hear what you were asking.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there, J-Lo. Try it again. I think he was asking you. He's having technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be a great situational pass rusher. Yeah, I think Yaya Diaby, like I said, going to be a great situational pass rusher. I don't think he beats out JTS. JTS has looked pretty sharp so far. He had a wicked spin move on Luke Gedeke on 1-and-1s the other day. The thing about, they brought in Coach Edwards from Dallas, and he worked with Micah Parsons a lot. And, a lot of people like to hate on JTS because of his sack numbers. Only had 4 sacks, and more not the sacks he made, but the sacks he missed.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously sacks are impact plays that you want to see happen. They put guys behind the line, and it makes down and distance a little bit tougher. But say what you want, Joe Tryon-Shoenka got a lot of pressures last year. Still, I mean, he was still getting after the quarterback and causing issues and errant throws. I mean, I'll just look up what his pressures were. But I do think that when you're looking at the situation with Yaya Diaby, they're going to utilize him as a situational rusher. And he's shown a lot so far in camp. that he's going to be able to use his bend and his speed, his size and speed. I mean, like I said, he's as big as Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, but he's faster. He's just an incredible athlete. Last year, he had 46 pressures, 10 quarterback hits, the 4 sacks, 31 hurries. So he was still making impact on the defense. He just got to get better at finishing at the top of his route. And I think the Bucs think bringing Coach Edwards in here, who worked with Micah Parsons, is going to help him. They gave him tons of things to work on. You know, he said the other day that he's got, you know, he watches tape of his missed sacks. And it bothers him so much. I think he's coming in here. He knows what he's got to play for, right? If he has a bad season this year, they're not going to pick up his 5th-year option next year. You know, he's in a situation where he knows he can earn a lot of money with that 5th-year option, and that he's got to play well in order to do so. So money motivates everybody, and, you know, he's got a big chip on his shoulder, and he knows what he's got to do, which is about going out there and producing. So I think he's a starter, but Yaya is certainly going to cut into those snaps. Anthony Nelson is another one of those jack of all trades, good at a lot of things, not great at anything. You look at most of his sacks last year, he had 5.5. You know, those came on some of his only pressures. He wasn't pressuring the quarterback at the rate that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was. And when you look at it too, when you've got a guy like Anthony Nelson across from JTS, he was seeing more tight end chips. They weren't lining a tight end up on Anthony Nelson's side. Let's put it that way. They knew that with Shaq out, number one priority as a pass rusher to stop was JTS. So secondary was banged up a lot last year as well. You know, which of course we know leads to backup guys in that role, not Carlton, not Jamel. So quarterbacks are able to complete better, you know, quicker passes when guys of a lesser caliber are covering their wide receivers. So the defense is so much fun because it all plays in tandem. They a good pass rush, that's going to cause errant throws and quick decisions that cornerbacks and safeties can jump. If they, you know, get good coverage, that's going to make the quarterback hold on to the ball more, giving the guys more time to try to get sacks and get those pressures. So last year it was out of whack. I think if everyone stays healthy, this secondary has a chance to be one of the best in the league. You pair that with the guys rushing the passer, whether that's JTS, Shaq, Yaya Diaby. By the way, if Yaya makes a sack or a big play, if we don't hear like yeah chant in the stadium, I'm gonna be really upset. I think we got to get that started.
I think that will be great. It'll be better than the typical, you know, everyone usually has a similar name getting chanted in stadiums that sound like boos, you know what I'm saying? Yaya will sound very distinct and very OG. That would be incredible if he's able to get a sack and yeah. Everybody.
I gotta talk to the Bucs media, the social department about getting that Black Eyed Peas song cleared when he makes a play, because I think people go nuts with that.
Yeah, and you probably have the in there to at least talk to someone about the idea. I think that'd be incredible. Yep, Jill Beckman, she's one of the best in the business, doing an incredible job running the Bucs social media, and you know she's doing an awesome job. If a lot of people know who she is, and a lot of people do know who she is because of the job she does, and her social media skills are outstanding. She's really brought this Bucs socials a long way. I remember back in the day, never bad, but a lot better with Jill Beckman. Very appreciative of her. If I'm going to talk about a rookie, I'm going to mention one we haven't really talked about yet, for better or for worse, and that's more on the behalf of the lack of this position, JC. Before we get into JCL and anything we've missed with training camp yet, and then we're going to do our one big things and get out of here. Josh Hayes, I'm interested to see if he could bring, or what he could bring to the table in a position that used to be deep for the Bucs. I find it a little thin now. We have Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean, one of the top tandems of corners in the game, I would say. And then after that, you got some question marks. You have second-year D-back Zion McCollum. You have D. Delaney. You have Chesley. You don't have a lot of for sure's. So let me ask you this. Any hope in Josh Hayes? And what have you seen from him so far, JC?
Yeah, so Josh Hayes is, you know, he's played a bunch of different positions. So cornerback, he's played safety, he's played, you know, nickel safety, and that's the position they're trying to come out here right now is, you know, D. Delaney is your starting nickel cornerback right now, or nickel, because safeties can play it too. But he's seeing reps with Josh Hayes and Christian Izien. So those are the three guys in that battle right now. Zion McCollum's more of a perimeter player, and he's looked really good, other than a few reps where Mike Evans torched him. But it's Mike Evans, and as I said, he's on another planet right now as far as what he's been doing. So I think when you look at that nickel position, it's the only position on this team that doesn't have a surefire starter. So Josh Hayes is getting plenty of work there. He's looked good. We had a little K-State crime the other day at the night practice where Cade Warner was lined up across from Josh Hayes, and they kind of slapped each other. Josh Hayes got the better of him, slapped him right at the line, made that quick tackle. So they've been working all these guys out. They're really impressed with Christian Izien and his ability. They're impressed with what Josh Hayes has been able to do as well. D. Delaney has played the position. He's got the most snaps there in the NFL, obviously with two rookies coming in. So it's his job right now to kind of lose, but they're giving him a run for his money. As far as, the depth at cornerback that you mentioned, it's a concern. I mean, if one of these guys go down, you're putting Zion in, and while Zion's look good, if two of these guys go down, now you're in trouble, right? You're relying on maybe a D. Delaney or maybe a Josh Hayes, or maybe, a Keenan Isaac makes the squad or something like that, young guy, or Anthony Chesley. So you've got some question marks there at depth. And I think that's the biggest thing that you worry about this team in the secondary is they've had quite a few injuries back there. I mean, Jamel missed some games last year. Carlton missed some games last year. Logan Ryan, Keanu Neal missed some games last year. Antoine Winfield Jr. missed some games last year. Sean Murphy Bunting missed some games. Mike Edwards missed some games. They've had some issues in that secondary with guys missing some games. And that cornerback room is thin. That safety room is thin with Kayvon Merriweather, Christian Izien back there. And Nolan Turner, who's in his year 2, has only got one snap of NFL experience. He's looked pretty good in short intermediate area, but he's a liability if he's got to play the long ball. But he's been showing up in red zone where, the field is shortened, made an interception, has a couple of nice pass breakups. But, that's a situation where I think is probably the scariest on the team. You look at secondary depth and you look at tackle depth, I mean, Gedicke's got a lot to prove, and they don't really have another option on that roster. And God forbid something happens to Tristan Wirfs, who, by the way, hasn't skipped a beat at left tackle. He's just been great. But you're in a sticky situation. A lot of the other areas, you've got young depth, unproven depth, but behind those spots, cornerback, you can deal with an injury to one of those guys. Zion, I think, can give you meaningful snaps, and he's going to look a lot better than he did last year. But if you're starting to have to get down to your fourth cornerback or even your second, third safety, you're going to be in some trouble because the depth just isn't there, and these are young guys who haven't really played a lot of snaps in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Tackle as well with Luke Gedicke. Lack of depth over there, lack of experience. He looked good in a brief stint there in the last game of the season last year, but as we know, that's not nearly as big of a sample size as you need to see how that's going to pan out. So we're going to do our quote-unquote last words right now, and then JC will give us his last word of training camp. Then we're going to do our nightcap question and bounce out of here. So, J-Lo, we'll start with you. What's your last words, brother? What's your walk-off? We've talked a lot of training camp, a lot of good stuff.
I just can't wait for the first game. First game under lights, Pittsburgh, Bucs. People say, it's preseason. We know for us Bucs fans, hey, QB battle. I can't wait. It's going to be fun to watch, find out who our nickel could possibly be. It just depends. But at the end of the day, our division's not as strong. And we're trying to overhype the Saints, Michael Thomas, Derek Carr. Don't give a damn. Because guess who swept them last year? We did.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day. So, I can't wait till Friday. Right now, I'm kind of leaning my head, watching this little preseason game, whatever. But next Friday, I don't give a damn. It's Buccaneer football, baby. And I can't wait to see who it is. Baker, Trask, whatever. Whoever it is, we got Mike, we got Chris. I feel like we got a better O-line this year than we did last year. That's my opinion. If Jensen stays healthy, Gadecki, we'll see what we got in right tackle. And Tristan, he'll shout down my mind. Left tackle, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about that. At the end of the day, it all depends how Canela's system fits in the offense, and I'm confident that this offense will be better than last year.
I agree with that. At least a lot more keeping the defense on their toes, keeping the defense guessing, and a lot more mystique behind the offense. You're not going to see first down run, second down run, third down run, punt. You know, you've seen that a lot last year, and I feel like Canales, between his interview with Pewter Report and multiple other things, doing my own research as well, and just based on what the guys are saying, it's a totally different shakeup than the Byron Leftwich approach. Stunna, one big thing in walk-off for you, brother, before we get to JC's training camp wrap-up.
Big thing, I want to see the Buccaneers fans show their face this year. We got a bunch of up north teams. I would love to see our fans show up and, you know, not be ghosted or not be out, you know, have more visiting fans and home fans like what's happened several years ago during the clock number years. I just want to see some loyalty, man. I want to see our fan base get taken serious like it used to be, you know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Walk off, just, you know, looking forward to seeing how we do. I want to see us compete. I want to see us, you know, if you grew up in the 80s and you're a Bucs fan and you remember the creamsicle days, you know, we used to talk about 8-8 and we never got there. So, you know, I want us to, you know, I don't want to see us go backwards. So my walk off is let's keep winning. Let's say we're going to win more games than we lose, and we're a new organization, and we have new expectations, and we're going to meet those expectations. And last thing, my small thing is, you know, JC, just you can get my number from Tone. If you do want to run that 7-on tournament, let me know. If you want to do anything for the kids, you know, we can definitely make that stuff happen.
Sounds good.
Other than that, fire the cannon, go Bucs.
JC, what say you? What's your last word on training camp? And then I do want to end with a quick, fun wrestling versus football question that'll just take a brief second. But JC, what say you, brother? What's your last thoughts or wrap-ups of training camps? Any things we might have missed or anything that you might just want to throw out there at this time?
What say you?
No. Yeah, what say you, brother? What say you?
So I'm definitely excited to see how this battle progresses. You know, I think right now Kyle Trask has looked a lot sharper. It's going to be I think it's going to be very telling this first preseason game who gets to start there. I think, you know, obviously the second preseason game is going to be whoever doesn't start the first one. But I think it's going to tell us just briefly who's in the lead right there for the time being, which is going to be definitely interesting, and see how that person overcomes it. You know, the following week when they're getting the second team reps and what they do. So that's one thing I'm kind of excited to look at. More padded practices today. They were in shells. I think what Todd Bowles is doing this year with the practices, 3 days on, 1 day off, and then using that day back as a ramp up day with shells instead of just jumping right in pads. Super smart. You got to keep the guys healthy. They know the war of attrition, especially in a 17-game season over 18 weeks, and the injuries that piled up last year. So you want to keep these guys healthy. As far as training camp, you know, just kind of observations, I think when you look into the offensive side of the ball, like I said, this system is going to be great for these guys. It's going to put them, just speaking to everybody. I'm actually working on an article that hopefully will be ready this weekend, just about what everyone said about this system and about Dave Canales and what he's brought to this team. You know, as far as the system itself, his energy, his positive attitude, the way he coaches these guys, is not cussing them out, yelling at them. He's teaching these guys. He's giving them the why. Why are we doing this? He's not just saying because I said so. He's breaking it down for them and having them understand what's going on. So, you know, I talking to the offensive linemen, they're excited because they're in a situation where they're going to be playing more of a horizontally in the passing game and the running game. You look at last season, and I said this on the Loose Cannons podcast last night. The issue with this offensive line last season was that the offense was so predictable that teams knew they were going to run a majority of the time on first down. So they were loading the box and sending the guys to get into the backfield. Well, the runs were so unsuccessful for the most part that you've had linemen on their heels. Second and third down, you're in down and distance situations. They're sending the guys pass rushing. The offensive linemen were on the heels. The offensive linemen aren't going to be playing on their heels as much. They're going to be playing on their toes. They're going to be moving. They're going to be utilizing their athleticism and their strength. Guys like Gedeke and guys like Mock, guys like Tristan Wirfs are going to be able to use their strength and athleticism to strike first, to move guys, pass guys down the line, and then your running back's going to cut back, and he's going to have a nice open lane to run through. So, I like what the system's going to be. I'm excited to see how this actually works in a game, because run fits, you can't really see how run fits work in a game type situation. Everyone's trying to protect each other still. You're not going after guys. You're not trying to get linemen on the ground. You're protect. We saw what happened last year when you bring a lineman to the ground. Last thing, people want to see is that happen again. So I'm definitely excited to see the run fits and how that marriage of the run and the pass come together when they're not playing against each other, when there's live bullets going around. So that's something that I'm really excited to see. The progression, the defense, Ryan Neal. I really like what Ryan Neal's brought to this team. I think I mentioned it earlier. This secondary has a chance to be the best secondary in the league if they continue to stay healthy. Antoine Winfield Jr., I believe, was on an all-pro trajectory before he had to play nickel cornerback last season, or nickel DB last season, going back to free safety. I think he's going to prove to people why he's one of the best in the league. Ryan Neal is just such an underrated signing. People aren't talking about it enough. The guy can do everything. He can play in the box. He can play nickel. He can play, free safety. He's just, those two are going to be so interchangeable. Their communication, he's such a shit talker on the field too. I love it. I think this defense, again, health is going to be the primary concern, but it's stacked. They've got players at every level. They've got good depth at every level, whether even if it's young depth or veteran depth, at every level. But the secondary, again, we talked about that. But a defensive lineman, I think you're going to see good things from Logan Hall this season. Bulked up, put on that extra muscle. With Vita Vea, I don't think he skips a beat. Kalijah Cansey, if he can come in and contribute, even like I said, forget the sack numbers, just being able to be a guy that forces things outside with his interior pressure. I think they're in a really good spot. And we know how Bowles exotic and creative he can get with his defensive disguise things. So Devin White's playing for a big year. He's got to play lights out. So I expect him to take a big jump. He has to, or else he's not going to get paid by the Bucs or anybody else. Yeah. So I'm definitely excited to see what this team does this season. I'm a little more optimistic than some people. I think 9-10 games is certainly within reach as long as they get, average quarterback play. And I think looking at the NFC South, I mean, it's still a very weak division. And the NFC as a total, all the quarterbacks are in the AFC. They got to get by Jalen Hurts, and that's really it.
And a bag of chips.
All right. I mean, that's the last guy standing out there who's really intimidating.
Desmond Ridder.
Cousins, But yeah, so that's my walk off. I'm excited about this team. I'm excited to see what the preseason looks like, so we can see some things that we're not necessarily seeing in practice. And yeah.
Real quick too, quick thought. The Rachaad White hit, does that hurt or help the defender's chance of making the team? I heard both arguments.
It doesn't do anything because he's right now the 5th, 6th linebacker on the team, so he wasn't making it anyways. He might make the practice squad. I don't think it hurts or helps his chances. I think it's just a play that you learn from, you move on. I don't think anyone's holding it against him at that point.
Right.
It was getting a little chippy before that hit. With some guy, Luke Gedeke throwing Jose Ramirez on the ground, picking up a unsportsmanlike conduct flag. And I think it's just one of those plays where, Jose Ramirez is a rookie, Brandon Boyer, whatever his name is from youth, the linebacker, Terry Tate, he was a rookie. It's like I got my rookies back type. But I don't think it's anything. He's got to get past J.J. Russell and Ulysses Gilbert before he's even talked about a practice squad guy, because their top 4 are set already.
Yeah. Well, very fair there, and it'll be interesting. Hopefully, we don't see any other big shots during preseason. But guys, I'm going to call this the nightcap. We're going to end with the fun question here, and if you're unsure, because if you've been out of the realm of wrestling for a little bit, that's okay as well. So Gonna go around, start with myself, then we'll go to Stunna, then we'll go to JC, then we'll end with Jeremy. Biggest thing you're looking forward to during SummerSlam weekend, and if you're not looking forward to anything, biggest thing you're looking forward to during the NFL Hall of Fame weekend. So we have some Tampa peeps going down to Detroit, myself, Corey Hayes, a handful of others, I believe. It's going to be a nice crowd, going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing the biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam, in terms of wrestling. And I'll be interested to see what goes on there, what happens there, especially to me in the trilogy and final match of Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. That's what has my attention. That's what has my eye. Two big names in the industry, a legend in Lesnar, and a growing legend in Cody Rhodes. I'm very interested to see that. And I'm also interested to see if anyone of the bloodline, like a Rock or Rikishi, will show up at SummerSlam. See if they make an impact at all. Stunna, what say you? Any interest in SummerSlam this weekend? Will you be watching it all? And if not, what are you looking forward to in the Hall of Fame, brother?
The Charlotte Flair triple threat. I'd like to see Bianca Belair get her title back, and then the Ronda Rousey Shayna Baszler match. I'm pretty intrigued by that. And my girl is no longer in there, which is Sasha Banks, and I still miss my boo. But other than that, just looking for some good wrestling and looking for some good Buccaneer football and just having a good old time out here in Tampa, Florida.
That's all that's to it right there. Thanks for the input there, Stunna. JC, if you are with us or able to, what are you looking forward to this weekend at SummerSlam, brother? Are you going to make a surprise appearance in the ring? Are you going to be attacking during the main event or anything like that? JC's down right now. We'll go to you, Jeremy. JC, you're muted, buddy.
Are you back?
I think JC's back, but he might be muted right now.
I'm back.
You're like a surprise entrant in the Rumble. You're leaving it to the last minute to see if
you think you know me.
Yeah, exactly. We got Edge from 2019 back, or 2020, whatever. That was incredible still when he came back in the 2020 Rumble. I remember the crowd absolutely erupted and went crazy. And
that was one of my first times getting back into wrestling. And I was like, oh, I know Edge. And then you had that terrible match, amazing match, rather, between KO and Roman. And then the handcuff debacle at the end just ruined it. It's so bad. That was my first time watching wrestling again, was that PLE.
And that's interesting. Yeah, a couple interesting things there happened with sometimes wrestling during the 2020s era was interesting storylines, but the Edge return was incredible. I remember watching Edge retire, Edge return. If you had to pick one thing, JC, from SummerSlam this weekend, or multiple, what are you looking forward to? Or if you're not going to watch SummerSlam, what's one thing with the Hall of Fame that's going to catch your eye?
Well, you're going to be there, so I have to look for you in the crowd.
Yeah, if you see the big man with the big gut in a, I don't know what I'm
going to sign.
I should bring one. I don't know what.
Back, man, they're coming back.
I don't know what. Yeah, they are coming back. The signs. I don't know what I'm gonna wear yet, but if I had to guess what I'm gonna wear, I might throw it back to an OG Brock Lesnar shirt.
Oh, there you go. I'm excited for a lot of things, to be honest with you. Wrestling has more than one royal family. I can't wait for that. It's like I've done wrestling talk. I can't wait for that match. Because it's just going to be another. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the documentary yet, but phenomenal documentary for the Cody Rhodes. If you guys aren't sure what I was talking about, but yeah, I'm excited for that match.
That's on Peacock, right?
Yeah, yep. I'm actually the game's on Peacock too, so heads up. I'm actually excited for that. I'm excited for obviously the tribal combat. See if anyone shows up, Rikishi or potentially The Rock. I don't think it's going to be The Rock. There was some rumors that The Rock might confront Grayson Waller, but please don't. I mean, that would just be
a waste to me.
A little bit of a waste to me. I'm excited to see the triple threat match. I think that's going to be a banger. I think we might actually see Io Sky cash in there. Obviously, Finn Balor and Seth is going to be great with Priest hanging around with that Money in the Bank cash in. Let me talk to you. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun to finally see my boy win a match on a main PLE. And you know who I'm talking about, with everybody saying LA Knight. Yeah. Wow. So excited for the Battle Royale. That's going to be a lot of fun. And the showstopper, the ones that's going to steal the show, all those matches are going to be great. But we're going to come out of this walking away and saying, Gunter and Drew put on a hell of a performance. And that's what we're going to be talking about, I think, when we leave here, along with everything else. But that's going to be a banger after banger after banger of a match. And it's going to set up something, I think, down the line, maybe in September, October, where Drew finally takes that Intercontinental title after Gunther beats Honky Tonks or whoever record that he needs to beat now. And then we start to see a push for him for that world title, especially if Priest has it. If Priest gets it, if Seth loses or Priest gets it, I think that we see Gunther in that mix sooner rather than later to get that Raw belt. And then, Destiny has its story. Cody wins Royal Rumble and then Roman goes down. So, and then he gets that belt. So I don't know. There's a lot of fun things to set up. I'm excited for the whole thing. It's the second biggest PLE of the year for WWE. And they're going to have some sort of surprises that we don't know about and some sort of things that's going to keep us talking, crazy finishes. I'm just excited for everything.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it plays out. And as JC alluded to, pretty much the second biggest show of the year for the WWE, at least in terms of star power, unpredictability, and notoriety. And it is taking place at Ford Field in Detroit, the Lions Stadium. So, it's going to be a packed house. J-Lo, you agree with all that's been said about wrestling, or you got something different to bring to the table?
Judgment Day. Finn Balor, I think, takes it from Seth Rollins, the title. I think Damian Priest will come out, make an ass with the fucking briefcase, whatever. He can do all that. But I feel like Dominic, and because, what's her name, Rhea Ripley's not defending her title, they'll try to stop Finn. Don't cash in. And I feel like Finn will finally get the world title because they're trying to create this little title reign with Judgment Day between Dominic win the North American title from whoever that was. I'm sorry to be mean, but whoever that was, and now he gets the North American title. I feel like either Rikishi is gonna make a return for Jey Uso. Even though he is undefeated at SummerSlam, no one's recognizing that. He's undefeated at SummerSlam, but I don't think he beats the Tribal Chief. I think Roman Reigns will defend the title. I don't think they're going to get the strap off him just yet. Brock and Cody Rhodes, the toss-up, I think because of the documentary and how everything was set up, I think Cody ended up taking that third match from him. Also, they're building up to another WrestleMania rematch with Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. And I agree with JC. Cody will probably take the strap off Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But too far ahead. But at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to the Finn Balor, Seth Rollins match. The match he put on in 2017 was phenomenal. Like, I feel like that was one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. And unfortunately for Finn Balor, when he got injured and he was out for a while, that was a huge blow, even though Kevin didn't win the title. Kevin Owens all day. I don't care what anybody says. That's my guy.
Yeah, I think Judgment Day is so hot right now that to put the straps on everybody and then Priest with that Money in the Bank, it would be hilarious to me if Finn wins it, because there's been talk Seth's dealing with some injuries too, that he needs to just take some time to recover. And there's been talk that Roman too, is going to disappear for a little while. And, can he really have him disappear with the belt again? Unless he's banished, he wins in some cheap way and he gets banished by Rikishi or something like that. Has to do tribal punishment, tribal timeout somewhere, something. I don't know. But I think it would be so funny if Finn wins it and then on Monday, Priest turns on him, cashes in, and Finn's second run only lasts 2 days instead of the 1 day. That would be hilarious and so unfair to Finn. But he's got weird absolute hairs. But yeah.
Come on,
His
man.
abs are
Demon
so weird
King,
looking.
man. You can't the Demon King.
I think that'd be hilarious as well. I think that could very much so happen too. To me, that's how they're gonna. It's KB, Kenny Barrett in the house. Holy moly, y'all talking about wrestling. We're wrapping up here, Ken. Don't worry, we're
KB,
closing
what up,
down.
boy?
Real quick, my last opinion before we get any last words from anyone is I think that's how they stretch out the Judgment Day storyline, you know, kind of like how we've seen the bloodline stretch out with tension within the group. I think that's how Judgment Day will get down the road, and there will be tension between a Priest and a Balor perhaps, and maybe a passing of the torch as leader. We've already seen one before, Edge passing the torch to Finn Balor. Maybe next time Finn Balor passes the torch to somebody else to lead that group, but it could cause for actually a longer storyline for the for Judgment Day at Days End if there's some worked in beef. Gentlemen, any last words or thoughts for football or wrestling before we get out of here and enjoy the night? I know we've been a long time now before I got to put you guys on the payroll. It's been awesome, but any last words or thoughts, brothers?
Go ahead, JC. Take it, bro.
I'm excited. Football's back. I've been peeking out of the corner of my eye here. You know, we've got PLE coming up this Saturday for wrestling, so everything's going well. Everything's going well everywhere, man. Work life, home life. I'm just in a good spot right now. I'm excited to see what the Bucs team can do. Excited for wrestling, and happy to be on here talking with y'all.
You're crushing it, bro. You're killing it, man.
J-Lo, any last words or thoughts, bro? Go on, J-Lo. Give your JC praise. We could hear it.
No, for real. No, he's been crushing it. I've been watching him on JP Peterson this morning, Loose Cans last night. I mean, he's going out there busting his ass, and I love him for it. For a Boston guy, I ain't gonna him too much. But a long story short, like I said, thank you for all the information you put out there, JCU, Pewter Report, everything you guys do, because I can't go to training camp, but every time you guys post them on Twitter, I watch it, and thank you very much. I couldn't thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
JC's really just appearing everywhere because he's actually gearing up for the 2028 presidential run. He's putting his name in the ring. He's appearing.
I am above the age now. I could actually run if I wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. I'm seeing.
You got my vote.
I'm seeing you on a lot of pods. I've been hearing you on radio shows for the past couple of years now. I think you're moving your way up in the world, brother. But really, incredible stuff, JC. We're always honored to have you on, brother. And hopefully it's not too long before you hop back on. And whether it's football or wrestling, brother, you're always a great talk, a great time, and you're really just a great guy outside of it all as well.
Appreciate it, y'all. Feel the same way about y'all. Shout out to KB for starting that fantasy group chat and putting us all in it and just strengthening these bonds that we kind of already had through the Bucs talk. So shout out. I'll give KB a shout out.
Yeah, give KB a shout out. Starting that blessing, starting that beauty of a group chat. Really starting a group that's growing a lot over the past couple of years, and really got a lot of good guys in it, a lot of good gents in it. So honored to be in it with you fellas. Always a blessing, guys.
No, thank you again, Tone. Appreciate everything you do, man.
Absolutely.
Like I said,
you already know.
You guys have a great night. Gentlemen, we'll be back soon. JC, hopefully we'll get you back in the very near future, brother. You guys could catch all his great stuff at Pewter Report. We know you'll keep killing it, JC. Thanks again, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
You guys have a great night. Everybody have a great night as the Buccaneers is winding down here. J-Lo's got his Buck shirt repping. JC just sent me a text on how much I owe him now because we're over an hour and 45 minutes. So let's get into that. Get into that point, guys. Love both of you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay strong, fellas. Peace out on the Buccaneers. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bucs, go Bucs. Enjoy SummerSlam. Enjoy Barber's Hall of Fame. And enjoy Thursday Night Football if you are watching it right now. Everybody, peace out. Stay safe. Stay beautiful. And go Bucs. Fire the damn can. game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buc fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's broke.